tonight,
Oh.
or this afternoon, 3 to 5, so.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Right, yeah. All right, we are live, we are recording.
Okay, it is 7:02. We will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Flags just over there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right.
Christie, roll call, please.
Mr. Dabrowski.
Here.
Mr. Bongiovanni.
Here.
Ms. Corradolo. Here. Mr. Galina.
Here. And we have nobody virtually.
We do not.
Be looking for an approval of the agenda as submitted.
Just to note, there are updated copies of the
That's
minutes from June 20th and the closed session minutes at your places. No changes to the agenda, though.
I'll motion the agenda.
a motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Danny. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion passes. Next, I'd be looking for the approval of the minutes from the June 20th, 2023 Board of Education meeting, which is the updated version.
I'll make a motion.
We got a motion by Danny,
I'll second.
second by Joe. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, none, no abstentions. Motion passes for those minutes. Next, we're looking for the approval of the minutes of the June 20th, 2023 closed session.
Make a motion.
Motion by Danny,
Second.
second by Joe. Favor? Opposed, none, abstained, none, motion passes.
I get to sit next to you.
Any correspondence?
Nope,
Oh, there's,
It's supposed to get two.
no, just one.
just one.
Yeah, it's just, a couple people were missing, so.
Yeah,
unless you
No
got
worries.
just saying.
I thought one may have had the corrections
Oh.
and one did not, so.
Yeah,
We're the only one here, we got a report. Oh.
This is-
All right,
Do we have any correspondence?
we do not.
Okay.
Mary, Christie, anything you'd like to say, audience comments?
Audience comments? Do we have any? do we
You
have
don't.
any? Okay.
Maureen DeVos is going to try to join, but they're also in the middle of some family travel, so.
All right, moving along, consent agenda. Accounts payable, treasurer's report. Anybody have any questions on anything? With that?
Mr. Bryant did send me some comments. His only comment was in full support of the disposal of personal property. Just a note, I'm sharing a note from him.
It's not on here. Just kind of thinking out loud, and this just came to me now. I thought it was on here on the treasurer's report. We have a deficit balance in the debt service fund. Are we gonna need a motion for a loan for that to close out the year?
That's gonna be, there's a journal entry that needs to be posted for the alternate revenue bonds that was just made, so I didn't at that time make the
Okay, so that,
transfer yet.
okay, so that payment was recorded before, on June 30th?
Yes.
That's the one that always catches us,
Yes,
due July
it's due
1st.
July 1st,
Right.
but we have to send it on June like 29th or
Yeah.
30th. Yeah.
Right,
So, generally the auditors will make that transfer, but yeah, that's why
but
it's
don't we
in
need to
deficit.
approve it as a board?
I didn't transfer money over there, yet.
Oh, normally when we see the deficit on here, we usually do that at that same meeting.
Yeah,
That's what we've been doing.
I-
But we could do a retroactive at the next meeting.
okay. Well, the auditors will be in tomorrow, so they're probably gonna be writing that up too, but usually it takes till September, October to get those journal entry. So, yeah, we can do that retroactively next week, or next month.
Next month, yeah.
Chris,
That's right.
can you just make a note of that for the August agenda? Okay.
But that's what it is, it's the alternate revenue bonds, because it has to come
Right.
education over to Fund 30, and be paid out of Fund 30.
Okay. Any other questions on the consent agenda? And then, yeah, the disposal of property will be after the consent agenda, right?
It's within it,
Is that
within that
within?
agenda item.
So we got accounts payable, treasurer's report, resolution for disposal of property,
Mary, do you
okay?
need that as a separate vote, the resolution for disposal
No.
of property?
I have a question on the personal property. Is that the computers and the laptops and the
Mhm.
Chromebooks?
Yeah, we
You can see
recycle
it
those.
Identified, it's its own document in your
Page
packet.
47, page 47, this,
Are those still operable? I mean, do they work or are they flawed or broken or
They're
not
just,
functioning? That's good.
Most of them are non-functioning.
I'm just looking through.
Mike and David will recycle those after they're pretty much dead, or else use them for parts, and then the parts are.
Correct.
Pardon me, what's the list?
They'll use them for parts as well. And then when,
Well, I'm just wondering, I've been involved in a situation where these used electronics were actually sold to staff or to families that would be interested in them. I wondered if that was a consideration.
we
or-
have done that in the past where we have sold, the Chromebooks to the eighth graders as they go out.
But not, I mean, we have like 50, it's like 50 Chromebooks.
Right, so
I
the
wondered if
issue,
there's
yeah,
anybody-
the issue with those Chromebooks is those were, when we went into COVID and had to rapidly go one-on-one at a home-based level.
Yeah.
So we were in fine shape at Stanton, we were not in fine shape here because we had carts that the kids accessed. And so we got old Chromebooks from Grant because you couldn't get them. The market was, the demand far outreached the supply because of the way the world was happening. So these are Chromebooks that are way out of date. Examples would be damaged screens, missing keys.
Okay.
David and Mike don't recycle anything that's
Okay.
still usable,
Yeah,
like they're and then when you look at, for example, the Epson projectors, those are
Yeah.
out of sequence of life simply because now it costs more than a new projector to replace the bulb in one of these, just because the speed at which technology works. So these would all be things, like when you look at keyboards, when you look at those things, they would be at that, past the end of useful life.
Okay.
That's a
That was
very
my
fair question.
Right, because I wouldn't want that to be, I mean, if we had people who needed it at home or for homework and for the demand.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to offer it first there,
Yeah.
but
For
if it's
any
not
situ-
in
yeah.
good shape, then
Yeah.
not worth it.
That would be one of the qualifying attributes for something to land on this
That's my
list.
question, are
No.
they operable, are they usable,
Yeah.
are they in decent shape?
No, it's a great question.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Any other questions? If none, I'd be looking for an approval to pass the consent agenda with accounts payable of $1,578,063.94, the treasurer's report, and the resolution for the disposal of property.
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Joe,
I'll second the motion.
second by Liz. Please pull the board.
Mr. Von Giovanni,
Yes.
Ms. Crowder,
Yes.
Mr. Molina,
Yes.
Mr. Dabrowski.
Yes, motion passes. Thank you. Item number 9, resolution to appoint a treasurer. This is just an annual hurdle.
Yep.
Red tape. So I'd be looking for that motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Danny. Second by
Second.
Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes.
All right. Mary. Facilities updates. How are summer projects going?
Summer projects are really coming along great. we've got, most of the work done. We've got the bleachers in. Seal coating is gonna be happening, on the 29th. Painter is in painting.
Which, we're only doing one
We're only
location,
doing one,
right?
we're doing
Stat-
Stanton, and then we're patching here.
Okay,
So any kind of patching will be done here. They are putting in the new PA system. They're pretty much done. It's working, but they have to come back, to do some, final tweaks.
Which is gonna be so important,
Yeah.
you know, seeing it all go in. There was a couple weeks of just frenzy of all kinds of things happening concurrently, which is what the summer in a school always feels like. But to see that PA system go in and think about the fact that there were classrooms that we couldn't get access to, and now it's smaller, like we will not have speakers with towels bungee corded to them because the sound system's so loud. It's a major safety improvement. So I'm thrilled that that one got done. And if you'll remember, we did vet that through Paul Tem, who was the person doing the safety study, just to make sure we were going with a reputable vendor, and he encouraged not just the scope of the project, but the vendor too. So I feel really good that that got completed.
One of the other bigger projects we did was, that's finished now, is we replaced all the flooring in the locker rooms and all the bathrooms with an epoxy finish. Looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We had done a walking tour in the early spring. And as you know, we've had to contract out the night custodial services at Stanton because we were unable to hire a staff member on our own. And so in kind of checking in on that, we've got some pieces in place to do a thorough building, just an all clean of all the spaces. But as we've looked at the bathrooms, other than the 6th grade ones upstairs, which are newer floor, newer everything, it was beyond cleaning on the floor level. And so then Mary and Don, I thought, did a great job pricing out all the options. And the cheapest option by far in terms of install, but then also care and upkeep, was the epoxy floor, because, you know, the drains are already in. Now we just hose down the floor. And it's a black-white combo. It looks really, really good. The bathrooms are all getting a fresh coat of paint. We didn't have to pull any of the toilets. They're all, you know, like iron tanks from the original install of the building. So they work great. It's just, I think the kids are really going to appreciate going into a much cleaner bathroom environment. It's a little thing, but it's a big thing.
right.
It's a big thing. So great job on that. And it looks amazing. So if you want to go to the bathrooms at Stanton,
You'll see a
we're
few
pretty
changes,
proud of the
yeah.
bathrooms.
Yeah.
I was that weird one touching the floor in the bathroom, which I never in my life would do. But I'm like, look at pretty the floor is. It's got a grip to it. It's so cool.
And new benches in the locker rooms. That'll be
Yeah,
the other thing too, because those
Yeah.
pretty worn out. And a lot of these things have not been changed or touched for
ever.
many, many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it really needed it. So, a couple of items still left for summer, work, but honestly, we are really going at a good pace. We've got, the only one that's kind of hanging out there is we're replacing the soffits on the garage. They're gonna try to get it done before school starts. If not, it'll probably be in the fall, because they're really busy with schoolwork right now for other districts. So, but that isn't gonna affect kids as much as all the other work we're doing inside. We still have the cameras, for Stanton, additional cameras. There's a couple on the outside, a couple on the inside. That was the Honeywell discount. We still have to get that scheduled as well. So those are two of them that are still, hanging out there.
A lot has gotten done.
Yeah.
Leaky roof, didn't we have a leaky roof problem that we were?
That was here.
Well, that's the next one.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's the next one.
And
Please hold.
that's item B.
Please hold for the next safety
Yes.
alert or
So,
facilities alert.
Any questions on the summer projects? We're going good on these. So the other thing is we did have our closeout meeting with PSI a couple of weeks ago for the air conditioning. There's a couple of things that they still need to do on their punch list, and it's mostly the rebalancing and things like that. So everything's complete, everything's in place, air conditioning is running great. They have one unit that they have to get trained out there to just make sure that it's running the way it's supposed to run. And then on Thursday, this Thursday, they're gonna be replacing these coils up here, in the gym. And that's the air conditioning that runs the cafeteria and the gym. Those coils broke a long, long time ago, so they'll be bringing a crane in on Thursday, replacing those. And they did do the leak test, and found several items, like where it has been leaking. So they're getting a cost for, those repairs from AMS. If you remember, we just put, an amount in that, pot, not knowing what those repairs would be. So we're still waiting to see what the cost is on that. So fingers crossed, we won't have any leaks in the gym, so.
But the good news is we think we've finally gotten the answer to why the leaks were happening at all.
Right,
So that was the fundamental
Yeah.
question.
there's some
Right.
gaskets that are worn out, so, I mean, they went through everything. So. Yeah, so that's. Yeah, it's good news.
Awesome, thank
Very
you.
good news.
Just one thing of safety that I kind of remember in the gym here, had discussed briefly, there's some, I think, drainage pipes that were like cast iron, and the one we had an issue with.
Mhm.
Were we making any other, do we need to do anything else on that? Do you recall? I don't recall.
No, I think that was, they replaced the brackets, and, it should be fine. It is still the way it is.
Okay,
It was the brackets that failed, it wasn't really the pipe,
right,
so we
okay,
had the plumber out here doing that.
good.
All right, awesome. I feel like there was one more thing.
Yes. I did, get an email from Dan Critta.
Oh, that was the one
What
more
was
thing.
it?
Well, the Stanton roof.
So this goes back to the Stanton roof, yes.
Yeah,
And I actually saw him at the Triple I conference, completely forgot about what we talked about, but he said we had still had two outstanding invoices. When I looked it up, we had two invoices that we issued the checks and then we voided them, pulled them back. And they were about $23,000, but if you remember, they were offering us a credit of $2,100, so it brought the amount down to $18,959. And so what he emailed me was that, would your board consider taking care of these invoices? So I did want to bring it up to you because you asked me to. So like I said, this is just for I think the total amount for the design was $107,000. That's part of this. Throwing it out there.
so,
My question is can you give us a ballpark cost on our legal fees?
yeah, that was
Yeah,
my
give me a
question.
minute, I can probably pull that up.
And why were they voided? Why were the checks voided?
Because it was a complete mess.
So they designed the roof over at Stanton. All parameters, there were a fair amount of design flaws that were brought to Wold's attention by the contractor. Wold was supposed to manage the whole project. They ended up not managing the project. We had to hire outside people to try to manage it, to try to talk to the contractor, to explain to us what was going on, and try to figure out what Wold did or didn't do. Wold was supposed to be doing general contracting, the whole roofing issue, and they didn't. They dropped the ball.
So
They had design flaws.
They're reducing their fee that they're expecting now.
There
Is that
was a
from
credit.
20 something
Well,
to
we held-
18?
That's just on the held fees.
Yeah,
The other piece to the story is it was supposed to be a 6 to 8 week project, and it took us 18 months to get to any sort of resolution.
The attorney again that we used.
And they vetted a contractor to do the work. You have to take the lowest reasonable bid. They vetted in a contractor who'd never done school-based work before.
and they gave us an assurance at the board meeting that they would be monitoring the whole project the whole time. So there would be no problems. So we had hired an outside attorney to deal with a lot of this stuff.
They no longer are involved with that attorney, or? How did
He was
that-
a
how did the lawyer like that?
one-time special
Oh, okay.
construction attorney that we ended up going with.
What was his recommendation?
Yeah.
Was it all said and done?
Don't pay him any.
Don't pay him
Yeah.
anymore, arbitration or a reason, I don't,
Well,
He
he
was-
did we
he
pay
really,
them
he really
anything?
didn't advise,
Oh, yeah,
We did pay them up to something.
did he really advise us what to do with Wold? I don't think, it was more
I
of the
don't think he
attorney
did.
we had to get.
dealing
was
with the contractor.
Dealing with the contractor, yeah.
But we had to completely circumvent who should have been doing that all along.
All right, that shouldn't have been our involvement.
I know.
So this request is coming from the contractor or from the management?
The architect.
Architect/management, yeah.
Architect who was supposed to be the general
Who was supposed
contractor.
to be
That is
General.
correct.
dealing with the contract?
Be there every day.
So they,
Morris. I'm
so
sorry.
they're
Okay.
Dwayne Morris, there you
Dwayne
go.
Morris.
There you
It's
go.
Oh, I
just
couldn't
kidding me. I'm
find
so
it.
sorry.
That was the outside attorney.
Hang on, I can look him up.
Construction attorney that we hired.
Because I know we had one not to exceed and then we approved another one. Remember?
And we had to hire an outside engineering company too. Additionally, that cost us additional money.
Yeah, we should send those
About
fees over.
42,000, a little over 42,000.
Because I think we started at 25 and then did another one.
That doesn't include AMS, so we had to
That is correct.
hire additionally. So you're saying Wold initially was 107
Yeah.
and the remaining balance was like 22 grand?
Yeah, brought it, and then the
So we
credit
paid them
brought it down to
85
eight.
grand?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think I'm in favor of paying them just 19 grand unless they reimburse us for attorney's fees and AMS. They do that first and I'll pay them the 19. That's my feeling. I'm not making a decision for the board, just speaking.
No, but this is just for discussion, and I mean, it was one of those things I'm not gonna, I said I would bring it up, so.
Yep.
It wasn't satisfactory service and
Yeah.
they're reasonable complaints.
They-
and
they
he's
know
incurred
it,
other
too.
costs to the district, so.
Right.
If they wanna pick up that, the other consultants that they had to be called in to.
40 grand for an
There we go.
attorney and then it was another 50 or 60 for another engineering firm.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit more for them.
I'd support that too.
That's it. So
Um,
other feelings, do you guys want it brought? I mean, what we could do is we can bring it next month, have it as a separate line item for approval or just disapproval, so the whole board votes on it rather than takes
Well,
off
why
of
don't-
Mary's plate.
Well, why don't we take the preliminary thoughts back and see how they land? And then we need to formalize that the board's directive, we can do that.
Okay.
I don't think that we'll need to, but.
That's a good plan.
Mhm. All right. In terms of facilities, you have all received the complete physical security assessment provided by Paul Tim. So if you remember last month, I gave you kind of the big picture of his recommendations. Here is the granular level report. I'm very pleased with what we've gotten. Now it's a matter of organizing those findings into a plan and executing the plan. And that is the role of the facilities committee. So I will share with you Ken's thoughts. He said, I don't know how everyone else feels, but I feel better having gotten an outside opinion. Most of the items recommended are small, and if not already completed, I'm sure you're working on them. The only large items are the secure vestibules. So let's move forward on a plan for those. Can you provide an itemized list of the recommendations per location so we can track the completion of the recommended items, which I think is a really smart thing to now do, is to take this, turn it into something that we can monitor and use as kind of our guiding principle in works for the facilities committee. I know in terms of facilities committee, if we are going to stay true to the deadline, we have funds that we need to encumber as part of the referendum dollars that are so far earmarked for secure vestibules. That was one of the funding rationales we took forward in the original referendum proposal, was secure vestibules. Those were,
Did we get pricing ever?
we haven't done anything with that yet.
And one of the other things I was just saying, the roofing,
So So everything's in a holding pattern right
Yeah.
now, so,
Did we hear back anything further
we
about-
did. All American is
proposals
ready
or-
to talk to us, is ready to talk to the facilities committee, but what we wanted to do is be able to have an all-in conversation, not to piecemeal
Right.
things, but, you know, we got a bucket that we
Right.
need to and have available to allocate. So now it's a matter of how do we want to allocate the funds across security, across the roof, across other O&M items that we'd like to talk about. So what I'm thinking makes the most logical sense is for the facilities committee now to get together and invest a pretty good chunk of time. I know that Mary has been in contact actually with Gavin, who is exploring a grant writer who, you know, we're always looking for grant wins, who we may want to have some conversation with about getting grant dollars to support the cost of the vestibules, which then could open funds to do other projects as outlined in the security plan. So I think it's just, it would behoove us at this point to just get all of our ducks in a row, to talk about the Lotus roof, to talk about the secure vestibules and how we want to handle that. And then other O&M kinds of things, and just kind of make our short game plan for that. Because if we want to, if the vestibules are going to get done next summer, we got to start designing them. And we got to find a designer. And what Mary and I had tentatively talked about is I feel like the architect of record kind of bit us in the rear end, which somebody tried to tell me about, and I didn't listen. So I think what we would be very interested in is looking for proposals from people who this is the work that they do. You know, and PSI has thrown out that they're willing to be a part of that. So I think it's just now a matter of let's go fast to make an informed decision while we concurrently are looking at, are there other dollars out there and other ways to fund this project, which if you read Paul's report, continues to rise to the top. And I think we were talking before the meeting a little bit, the degree to which we arm the building or harden the facility, which is now the politically correct term for it, really needs, it's a balancing act, right? Of what can you do to be as safe as you can, knowing that somebody wants to get in Lotus or Stanton, they're going to get in. So it's a combination of hardening the campus while concurrently making sure our practices can be as responsive as possible. So we were also debriefing and talking about the emergency app that we've kind of floated around for about the last 6 months. The ROE, the regional office did get it approved. We met with the vendor today. I felt very confident in the tool as he shared it with us for its layers of communication, its ease of use. So I feel like we're in a really good place to take rational, measured steps to balance safety with not going off the cliff of I mean, you can throw millions of dollars at this. We don't, first of all, have millions of dollars, and even if we did, I don't know that that's from our community's perspective where we would want to solely invest those funds. So, and that's why we designed a facilities committee, was to be able to research, do this work at a small table to bring recommendations forward for board consideration. So if everybody's okay with that, then we'll be reaching out to the committee to get together sooner than later, probably in a pretty big chunk of time, because there's a lot to be working through, but certainly prior to the August meeting, so we can come back with some strategic recommendations. Sound good by you?
Sounds good by me.
Any insights, any questions that you had in looking at the report?
I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was
Very
awesome,
thorough.
too. Yeah.
Very thorough.
Yeah, a lot of easily doable.
Yeah.
Things.
Yep, exactly.
There wasn't anything big, like that stood out too, that was a major issue.
No,
It was good.
and that made me happy that a real expert in the field didn't come in and really find bad practices happening. That made me feel good about the security plans that we have in place. So
It's pretty easy to give the crossing guard a two-way.
no problem. And we've already got more
It was
on the route.
That
Yeah.
was probably the only one that surprised me, that person would be out there with kids and not have that. That was like, wow.
And I believe, based on my experience, that
But they probably did and did.
that was an anomaly.
Yes, that day, right, that's what I.
Because I've been there when we've gotten radio calls in because
Uh-huh.
kids are making interesting choices on the sidewalk between the exit and the corner. I've gone out to assist kids because we've gotten the radio call in. So I think that,
Yeah.
but if it ever happened, then
I
it's,
believe that.
yeah.
But that's an easy thing.
Right.
Yep,
It's an
exactly.
easy fix.
Any questions on any of that?
Not on that, but something for the facilities committee. And I don't know if we need All American Roofing in on this. So when we were looking at the Stanton roof, walking around up there on that 90-degree day, wearing jeans, it was fun. We were looking over at the storage unit
Yeah.
on the other side of the garage. I know we mentioned the garage,
Uh-huh.
some work to that.
The soffits on that?
The soffits
Yeah.
on that. Has anybody ever looked at the roofs? It appeared that on the storage facility over there, there was visual just from standing on the Stanton roof that there was leakage issues when we looked over that way by some of the experts.
I don't think we've ever really taken a look at that. I don't know of any leaks that's
Okay,
happened, but we can have John check that.
Take a look.
and the garage, I guess, while he's there, those things haven't been checked in a long time.
I know some patches were put on the roof, on the garage roof, remember, because we got that roof priced out and it was ridiculous.
We did get that seal.
It got sealed, not replaced. Yeah.
Storage.
Garage.
Garage.
Yeah.
There was a comment made on the storage facility, the way the membrane came up or something wasn't the right way to do it. So if you could look at that.
So then we will make sure we do that. Next on the agenda would be the personnel report. You see we got 2 hires, which were coming along.
Real quick on this other doors report.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Separate.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be, are those things we can fix ourselves? Like some of the closing rates, I think that's just,
Those are tightening the hinges where he's talking about lock replacement. That's a big ticket item. So we just need to dig into that one a little bit more to understand nice to do, needs to be done
yeah.
kind of things.
Is that what the cylinder dogging means?
Mhm. Correct. So some of it can get
Lock
tightened.
replaced? Okay.
There are some full bar replacements recommended, which might as well get a whole new door.
There was one spot, yeah, where it looked
Yeah.
like the door was loose, he had
Yeah.
mentioned.
Right.
Probably look at that right away.
Yeah, so that's what Mary and Don and I are meeting tomorrow morning to go
Okay.
through that piece. Anything else on that? Sorry if I was moving on.
No, sorry.
All right, so we got the personnel report for consideration. We have 2 hires coming in. Pending board approval with this hire of a permanent sub at Lotus, and as I talked to you about the shifts in the master schedule that allows us to reallocate our specials teachers' time to sub, because with the reduced sections, they have more time available. Natalie and the Guiding Coalition here developed a master schedule that takes, is really creative use of time, so that with this permanent sub, that whole strand of staffing is done. Even though we had talked about adding more, we don't need to add more because we're using the staff that we have. I do anticipate at least 1 resignation coming from a paraprofessional. We are also, I think I told the board about this, Lake County superintendents came to a working persons agreement. Because school code does allow us, if a certified staff member resigns within 30 days of the start of the school year, and you're unable to fill that position by start day, you can request that that person's certificate be pulled for a window of time so that they cannot start in the new position. And given staffing shortages and the fact that lots of us tend to take from each other to fill vacancies, we all agreed that we would take action on that, and so we are now within the 30 days. So should we receive and the staff is aware of that, the union is aware of that, we're all in agreement. Should that happen, then we will invoke the certificate hold, which would be the first time we've done anything like that. There were districts that did it inconsistently last year that led to the topic coming up to Lake County superintendents of, are we gonna do this or not? Because if one person's doing it, then you kind of all have to. So more to come on that. I also want to add before action is taken, because typically we do this as a full approval. What's not indicated on here is status of those ELC classrooms. So if you'll remember, we have 4 here, 2 at Stanton. You saw last month that Sherry Tejan and Jillian Raychuk resigned to get onboarded by ELC. That's a done deal. We have 2 hires complete in the ELC. So Stanton is fully staffed, other than an English language leave of absence, and we'll fill that as we need to. Lotus still has 2 classrooms open within the ELC construct, but we are interviewing 2, I think, real strong candidates tomorrow afternoon. So I'm gonna go actually down in person to do those interviews. I think it sends a message. Rather than doing it on Zoom, I'm gonna be there to be in the room with those candidates to hopefully get that sealed up. So I'm excited about it. We're already in talks and discussions about 4 students coming back. And we know that even 1 would completely take care of the cost of us doing this at all. So things are looking good in terms of our creative approach to trying to deal with this situation. So I just wanted to make sure I looped that into the personnel report as well. So nothing there for approval, just a status update.
Can you refresh my memory? How many students have been placed in other programs because we couldn't handle their needs?
I got it.
Part of that too, it's not only the teacher costs, it's the travel.
So we have to pay for
Transportation, all of
transportation
that.
and the tuition.
Yeah.
This is 19.
19, and we're looking like 4 are gonna be coming back.
And remember, 2 of those kiddos had to be shifted out because we lost that we could have staffed the teacher. So our intent would be to bring that student back, and we're in conversations around 4. Our student who's in the residential placement is likely going to have to change placements because she's not making the kind of growth that we would want for her. She will be a 7th grader in 23, 24. So we'll keep you posted on that situation as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I have a question about the paraprofessionals.
Mhm.
You have like 15 at Lotus School. And I'm just curious about whether most of these are assigned as one-on-one paraprofessionals or if they're small group paraprofessionals.
Yeah, typically what we try to do is assign a paraprofessional to a grade level so that as IEP entitled students get more access time in their classrooms, the para is there for them. I believe at this point we have 2. In 22, 23, I believe we had 3 one-on-ones system-wide. One of those students just graduated 8th grade, so that takes us down 1. Our early childhood classroom, some of the students coming into the classroom are not yet walkers.
I forgot that we have
And so that's where the 2 are, because we got kids all over the floor and they're amazing and they're making tons of growth. And it is not a typical thing for us to add one-on-one support though. That's a great question too.
Well, I noticed that was something that changed over the years. Less one-on-ones, more changing in the language of the IEPs instead of saying one-on-one support in the classroom, it just said support in the classroom.
Classroom support, exactly.
Classroom support. I thought, because if we have this many open spots.
Yeah.
Then I was
Yeah.
wondering how to accommodate
Right.
15.
That's also part of why we increased allocation for the permanent sub spots, knowing that if we can't fill these para positions, it made sense to increase the permanent sub allocation, because then we have a lot more flexibility. Those permanent subs can be classroom teachers, but can also be paraprofessionals. And so we're in a position now where at Lotus, we'll have 3 humans every day that we can allocate as we need to. And the same is true at Stanton. So that was kind of the safeguard against if we can't fill the para spots.
Just
Yep.
wondered.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. So now we'd be looking for an approval on
Yep.
the personnel report.
Right. We'd be looking for an approval on the personnel report as submitted.
I'll make
Oh.
a motion.
Motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Joe, second by Danny. Please pull the board.
Mr. Von Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Galina?
Yes.
Mr. Dabrowski?
Yes.
Ms. Cromwell?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
So right behind that is now the staffing plan grid, which is the big Excel spreadsheet of people. Green indicates spots that are still open. I went ahead and shaded in gray, just this is kind of a new view. Those are all the positions that are either contracted partially or fully through ELC. I just think it's clear in terms of who are purchase services and who are our staff. And then you'll see over in transportation, last year we were purchasing 2 regular ed routes. This year we're at 1, and we're trying to problem solve that one too, in terms of transportation. So that is a much better landscape than we had in the past as well. So there's no approval required there. I just wanted you to see it and know how the color coding was working. Summer school update, we've got 1 week left to go. Attendance is slowing. It's slowed significantly after the week off at 4th of July, but we still have a ton of kids coming every day. We're looking at the end of course kind of growth metrics to see how kids have done as a result of their time. I know they've had a lot of fun. This year, we're adding end of summer school celebration events that families can come and be a part of. As part of the literacy work here and in 5th grade at Stanton, the kids have been doing research projects all summer. And so they're going to have books made that they've written about their learning. So they'll share that with families. Every class has put together some sort of a celebration. Our classes with our most complex students, the teachers put together slideshows of the kids then and now and some of the projects that they made, put those to music and sent those home for parents to see. So that's been a new ad that I think has been really important this summer. So it's been great. And I think we finally hit the model that works. The 6-week model, staggered start times at the 2 buildings, the fact that we can hold it at Stanton now because the temperatures are under control. I think we've finally figured it out. So now it's a matter of figuring out how do we fund it moving forward, because we squeezed the last penny out of our ESSER dollars. Thank you, Sugar Mama, for this year. So we'll be looking at
And
grant.
for the July problem. I'm not coming back after that.
Yeah, no, it's not that they're not, it just dipped. So, but I'm thrilled with how it's gone. I can't wait to see the kids grow.
Yeah.
Another update item is the joint annual conference. Christy, have you heard from all these folks on like sessions or in pre-conference sessions and attendance?
Nope, I think I haven't heard from Joe or Liz on that either.
Okay, so that's the November board conference.
And those pre-session ones fill up quick. They may be, some of them might be full by now even.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think I just want to do the standard ones based on what I saw, so I can confirm with you.
great, okay. Past that, we do need to bring forward a calendar revision. Anytime we change the calendar, it's up for board discussion. So, what's different about this calendar is it moves, I want to do a happy dance about this. It moves both buildings to trimester reporting. So instead of Lotus being on a trimester, Stanton being on a quarter, everybody shifts to trimesters, which means we go back to everybody having the same conference window. Report cards come out at the same time. It just streamlines literally everything. It made our calendar able to fit on an 8.5 by 11 instead of needing to be on 11 by 14, because then it was Stanton conferences, Stanton a quarter, trimester. So it just streamlines things a lot. This was a recommendation. I'm also thrilled to report by the Stanton Guiding Coalition. The teacher teams came together and said this makes a lot more sense for us to be in alignment. They have also designed a master schedule that, like, this is what we wanted to see Stanton doing, was a lot more teacher involvement, teacher engagement in the leadership processes, and it's happening. So I'm thrilled to see that. The master schedule is shifting by decreasing one of the exploratories. So instead of 4, it goes down to 3. So kids will be on trimesters for the exploratories, giving more time in a given exploratory. We found that the music technology class that was added last year was not a win, and I'll leave it at that. So that brings us back to doing the exploratory Spanish, art, and then Project Lead the Way, which is really important because all the foundational districts have Project Lead the Way as a readiness for grant. So if we want our kids graduating ready, we need to make sure that that's something that our students have access to. Just another side note from a geeky superintendent, another happy thing that ends up happening in this master schedule is if you may or may not be aware that at a given grade level, there's only one teacher that does things because we're so small. There's one ELA teacher at 7th grade. There's one at 8th grade. There's one at 6th grade. And the same is true for all the Big 4 content areas. So the collaborative teams have typically met by grade level, which isn't a bad thing, but when what we want to work on is student learning, you need to be talking with people who teach what you teach. So even though 6th and 7th and 8th ELA aren't the same thing, we're teaching kids to read, write, speak, and listen, right? And if somebody's struggling in 8th grade, a great person to talk to is a 7th grade teacher to talk about, well, how did you work on this? And vice versa. If a 6th grader is ready to stretch and extend, having conversation with a 7th or an 8th grade teacher around what could be more or different for the student is really important. So the master schedule, in addition to everything else great, is built so that every day our content teachers have time to work together, which is incredibly important because we have recent adoptions in ELA with Amplify that we're still getting good at. Math and iReady continue to be something that the kids aren't as proficient as we'd like. So having our math teachers talk together regularly. And now, if you remember, we have a math dedicated coach who will help facilitate those meetings. And then we do have a science resource adoption this year. It just makes perfect sense to organize time this way. So I couldn't be happier at, really, it was Rochelle kind of visioning this out, getting the staff involved, the staff poking holes in the plan, and now we're at a master schedule that, I mean, you change a master schedule and you have people freaking out, right? Unless they're engaged in and own the change, and that's where they are. So that's probably way more than you needed to know about why we want to shift to trimesters. But when we're thinking about kids progressing, which is our ultimate duty, to be fiscal agents and grow kids that are ready for the next phase of their life, academically and socially, this is a piece of that equation. So that's the why on the shift in the calendar. So that one does require board consideration and approval since it's a calendar change.
Can I ask a question? Why is every Wednesday an early release?
So that was something in place before I came, and that is so that we have embedded professional development time.
So the Wednesday, the early
We own
release-
that time. So there's, within the bargaining agreement,
School time that we're giving out.
right, and that will come to light. But that is absolutely pivotal time for us to work with staff on their instructional practices, which given our turnover rate and the fact that we're hiring so many people every year, it just is invaluable. And it's untouchable. That's our time. So,
No, I don't know what you mean by that.
well, teachers are guaranteed plan time, right?
Oh,
So we can say how many times a week they need to meet, but every Wednesday, that time is ours.
So that's
Controlled
over
by
and above the Teacher Institute Day or
Correct,
professional development.
correct,
So all those afternoons are professional development.
correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We've been doing that a long time.
Before me,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons I came here. Because if you don't have that time, you're not gonna get the growth you wanna see. If you don't have time regularly for teachers to get coached up. Yeah.
It's interesting, you should cut down on a lot of, the complaints about using personal time at home to plan and to.
And they still do,
Yeah.
they still do. But the greatest hope is that when they walk away to plan, it's because they're doing a part of a bigger job rather than everybody doing the full job on their own.
Just wondering.
Yeah. Looking for a motion on that one, Matt.
Second. Motion by Dan, second by Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? None. Motion passes.
Next little nugget is board governance application. Every 2 years, we, for long before I got here, this board has taken great pride in the board governance recognition, saying that we are a learning organization that is keeping ourselves current and employing best practices as aligned by the standards that everybody's now aware of in doing all that riveting board training. So every 2 years, there's an application process. That application is due August 1st. We're working on it. There's a component that I need from you.
And did it the last few times. I think it's
So
your turn to do it.
I can't do it because it has to be done by a board member, of which I am not. So what I've done for you in both email and hard copy is sent you what you sent me the last 2 application cycles, so you can look at it and decide what you'd like to turn in this time, and I need those.
Your homework.
You have homework. So, thank
I knew
you.
I shouldn't
I'll
have-
handle the rest.
I knew I shouldn't have showed up today.
I'll handle the other. How many different sections, Christy? Section, yeah, there are 15 sections and I'm asking you to handle 1. So, thanks, boss. So that's just an FYI. All right, policy review, we've got some first readings. And before we get to that, no, let's go to second readings. So 280 is an updated code of conduct. It doesn't really change a whole lot, other than just some subtle changes in the language. Footnote 3 says that we can designate a local official to administer the oath of office rather than the board president, so typically he's done it, unless it is him, and then we've swapped that out. Past that, 2170 is about procurement of, and this is important, architectural engineering and land surveying services. So this is just updated in 5-year review. 445 is a 5-year review on operational services.
Do we have this intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Office of the Comptroller? On this?
No.
No?
Is that the one you're talking about where you can
Collect
collect
that?
outstanding fees with their
Right.
tax return? Honestly, I don't know of any district doing that.
Okay.
But we do not.
Do you want to take it out? It's a may have, so.
Yeah. And I would leave it in, I suppose, in case the board ever wants to,
Put it in.
yeah.
Okay. So that's that
Do we
one.
need to do this? Should we look into doing this to participate in it? Because it says we may,
Yes.
do we need to go?
No, we
Should-
don't, need to. So let's say if somebody hasn't paid their registration fees, we can tell the comptroller's office, we want you to deduct $110 out of their tax return and give it to us.
An offset deduction. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, we try to work with parents.
Yeah.
Set up payment plans however we need to, because, especially since the last few years. Because people are struggling, so, but no,
Optional thing.
yeah.
Sometimes it'd be nice when we do get abused, it'd be nice to have this. I mean, I know normally you try to work it out and deal with it, but might be another bargaining chip to say we can do this to get more compliance from parents.
Yeah,
And I'm sure it's gonna be limited situations, but might be needed at some point.
I mean, we're over 60% of our population that are eligible for free reduced lunch. I don't know if that's a
what's
place we
hard,
wanna,
yeah.
I mean, we've got kids flagged for registration if they haven't paid things, so that we do follow up.
Right,
Yeah.
I know it would, I assume it'd be used very limited situations, but it's still a bargaining chip that you have to get them to comply.
Right.
Something to think about.
Well, if we leave it in, then we can access it if we want to.
Yeah.
460, we added, this was not a press update yet, but Mary's ahead of the game and got it in here because the bid threshold for board approval has gone from 25,000 to 35,000. So that's amended in this policy. I think I redlined it in the spot.
Yeah, it's right there.
Here it is, it's
I
a strike
remember
through.
one.
Yeah, it's a strike through, just so you see where it happens.
Oh, and then you read, it was read up on the very top of this.
Yeah.
Right.
And then 4100 is operational services with insurance management. That's a 5-year review. You remember that insurance management is managed through Click, and I think Click does an outstanding job for us, just staying ahead of things. 5230,
Just a quick
Yeah.
question on the Click, because a couple of those invoices we did approve tonight already. Just a cash flow idea, we're paying for annual premiums right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Do they have an option if we need cash flow that,
Not that I'm aware of, because within, as of July 1st, they go into effect. It's a question we can always ask.
I think we're okay right now, but in the
Yeah,
future,
right.
right out of the first day of the school year, you're paying out a ton of insurance premium for the whole year.
It's hefty, yeah, for sure.
okay, so those are our first reads. Second reads are, as we discussed last month, but thank you, Christy, on 7. So Christy stripped anything that was 9th grade and above, because we found a couple of those. 7 to 90 is around mental health awareness. So we did annotate the student handbook for that because that was something indicated in the policy. And 7-340 had language around biometrics, which is not applicable to us. So that language was taken out for the final approval. So thanks, Christy, for handling those pieces. So those I would be looking for approval so we can update the policy manual online.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
second by Liz, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, none, motion passes.
Then we've got board professional development. Could you please put a hold tentative on September 12th? It's a Tuesday night. It's the Tuesday before our regular board meeting for the starting out session, which I believe the board directed me to explore in getting us set up. Just, that's the professional development provided by IASB. All about when new board members come in, and we've had a ton of turnover since last we did this. So if you could hold that, I'm checking on the date to finalize it. And maybe Christy, with the other correspondence you're gonna send out, if you could include that, the date of September 12th for a hold on that. The website is updated. Matt at the last meeting had said that it looked that the board trainings were out of date, but that data actually it existed in two places. One was up to date, one was not up to date. Now both are up to date. The board at its last meeting agreed that everyone would do the onboard, the electronic board packet training using the links that you were provided. Ken asked me to share. It was nice. I like being able to jump to the website. He also asked for our consideration, and I'll bring this to next month's agenda, on that board code of conduct, if this board would like to have that available on the website under the board page, just kind of what the code of conduct is lifted out of the policy section, so it's there and accessible, so we can put that on for discussion as part of final approval for the updated 280. Yeah, and I think that's it in terms of that update. Joe, I know you're working to finish board trainings, the required stuff.
Yeah.
And
I should
Liz,
have that done next week or something. I'm just finishing up the open meeting one.
Open Meetings Act.
And then there's a second one I gotta do, I think, right?
Yeah. Danny loved those. He can
Yes.
be your fifth note.
I'll call
I'm
you
just
up
so
if I have
excited.
any
I think he did it
questions.
twice. He did it twice. The other thing, Liz, last month's meeting, you asked for,
About the
Raptor system. So I did a call with them, and they were actually really awesome. So what it will screen for is exactly what we thought, is sex offenders. They go against the national database. If someone is tagged as a possible or confirmed, it will pop in our system and we're all alerted for that. I asked if there are other databases against which people are checked, and her answer to that was no, but she then did tell me that we can use the system, and she walked me through very easily how to do it, custom alerts that can trigger a banned visitor, can pop in custody agreements or restraining orders, which we've put in Skyward, but not necessarily in Raptor, so that when somebody checks in. So I'll be talking with the administrative assistants about if that's something we want to dig into. There's also a way to have, after we vet volunteers, have an approved volunteer list, which I think would probably be good practice. Right now, we just check in volunteers as they come, but to just have that standing approved volunteer list. And I think that was it. But what I loved about it, and thanks for kind of asking for that call, is from when we started Raptor to now, the main site is much more navigatable for the client, as opposed to in the past where it was all kind of, they ran it and you just use the scan feature. You can set it a lot more custom for you.
Sounds like she was very helpful.
She was great. Yeah, she was great. I mean, she obviously tried to sell me more products. And I said, I don't think that's necessary. My question is, how can I maximize the product that we have? And I do feel like she answered that question.
I think it's a good component of the security system that we're working on.
Yeah.
So I would think.
Yeah. Well, and if you read Paul's report really carefully, you saw that he recommended that Stanton go to the Lotus model. So Sue downstairs, have you done it? Has little, like little pencil boxes, the plastic ones. And when someone signs in, she takes their keys and matches it to that box with that badge that she's issued. Just so, I mean, in case there's an emergency, we want to know who's in the building. In addition to our people, who else is here? So yeah, that's pretty snazzy. Color coded and everything. And I would expect nothing less from Sue. So yeah, more to come on that, but I do think it is part of the bigger kind of safety landscape that we're working on. So learned a lot from that. Christy, we had a FOIA.
We did, Maddie helped me, it was just basically staff names, titles, salaries that they wanted.
And that one's handled, yeah?
Yep.
All right. You see other dates of notice. August 15th is our August meeting. Please note that that is also opening week. So the 14th is the first staff reporting day back. The 15th is an institute day. The 16th is teacher work morning meet and greet, and then kids are live on campus on the 17th. So it'll be busy at that point in time. Typically, what the board has allowed us to do is if we need to fill positions, we go ahead and fill them and let people start and do the formal approval in arrears, just so that it's in kids' best interest that we get these people started. So I can anticipate that probably happening this time too, but we will for sure bring their contracts forward for you. The joint annual conference dates are indicated here. Once that September 12th date is confirmed, we'll get it out and add it to this list so everybody has it. And I know closed session is listed on here. It was related to superintendent's evaluation. I don't think we need to go into closed session for me to tell you this information. Christy's gonna be sending out to you tomorrow my completed eval and the link for you to use to do your feedback circle to me.
I
So,
already sent it.
oh, it's already out, so you already have it there. If you have any questions around any of my comments or any of the things I wrote, just reach out and let me know. By when do you want that feedback, Matt?
Well, I have this other homework I have.
I know. It's hard to be the boss.
True that.
I did make you an editor, so you should get those responses correctly.
I would say if I can compile them just after the next board meeting, so it'd be just over a month. So we have a second final reminder at the next board meeting.
Okay. Great. Chrissy, can you make a note of that? I'll forget. All right. With that, I think we're done.
So I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Joe,
I'll second.
dies for lack of a second. No, Danny got in there at 8:09. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion passes. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. I'm so glad you were here, or else we couldn't have paid our bills.
Yes.
What's one thing too about paying all those premiums all at once like that for the whole year? But I thought that must be how you guys do it, and I think it seemed like a lot of money all at one time.
Right.
They know when we get our money in.
Exactly right.
There should be an annual payment discount instead of monthly,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Like 10% off.
I